let's move on to some Star Trek news.
Modern Star Trek.
Modern Star Trek news. Even if it's modern, Rob likes being here for the Star Trek stuff, but a little bit of modern Star Trek news. All right, so CBS, what was it called? Paramount Plus was called CBS All Access.
Okay.
So when CBS All Access was kind of out, their big series that they were relaunching, Star Trek for the small screen, was coming in the form of Star Trek Discovery. And it was a little divisive. I mean, you get a lot of the classic Star Trek fans. Listen, I've been watching Star Trek since I was a child because my mom loved watching Star Trek. She would put on the old Star Trek, the original series reruns. So I grew up watching that stuff. And of course, obviously, then when Star Trek The Next Generation came out, I mean, I was a kid, but I loved watching it, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, it's fair to say there's a contingent of classic Star Wars fans, or Star Trek fans, I should say, that they weren't going to like anything that came out unless it was exactly like the old Star Trek. And the argument I would have with my friends, with my fellow Star Trek fans at the time, I remember when the J.J. Abrams, the first Star Trek movie was coming out. By the way, that first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie that came out, I shit all over that movie a year before it even came out. I was like, this is a dead franchise. This is probably, and what year did that come out? 2009? I want to say for that Star Trek. It was 2009.
I only know that because Rob.
So that
all
2009, that Star Trek movie with Chris Pine comes out. But before it came out for a full year, I was saying this is the dumbest idea ever. This is a dead franchise. Because literally, the fan base is dying off. Like literally, the fans of the original series were literally dying. And no new fans were being created.
They all had one bun in the grave.
They all had one bun in the grave, as Rob would say, right? But, and it's 100% true. There were no new fans being created. We saw the box office of all the Star Trek movies were dropping like stones. Each one was making less than the previous one. No new fans were being created. Guess what? The definition of dying is when cells are dying off and new ones aren't being created. It was a dead franchise, and I thought it was a stupid idea that they would do it. They came out with Star Trek, was the biggest box office result they ever had for a movie. And it was different. And I tried to tell my fellow Star Trek fans at the time, it's like, listen, this is a new era. This is like, audiences are looking for things a little bit different. And you can't just go back and keep doing things the way you were doing them before, make it a little bit fresh. So whatever. But listen, undeniably, I remember Rob and I had this discussion, because the one thing Rob concedes to when talking about that is that J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie did create, for the first time in ages, new fans of Star Trek. Something Star Trek hadn't done in a while, at least not since The Next Generation came out. Mm-hmm. So anyway, now we jump forward to Star Trek Discovery. And they do it again. They try to make Star Trek a little bit different again. They try taking different approaches, give it different DNA. And I'll tell you what, I quite liked it. I quite like Star Trek Discovery. I particularly like the first season. Like a lot of shows, it has some hits and some misses. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Star Trek Discovery is great. I think they've had some great moments. I think they've had some bad moments. I still don't like the whole time crystals thing, for those of you who watch Star Trek Discovery. Still don't like all that. But what cannot be denied, some people try to pretend it's not true because they like to stick their head in the sand and ignore facts. Star Trek Discovery has been incredibly successful for Paramount. So much so that it launched a whole bunch of new series, including my favorite Star Trek series since The Next Generation, which is Strange New Worlds. I love that show. I think that show's great. But it's also reached 5 seasons, and now we know the 5th season is its final one. As according to The Hollywood Reporter, Star Trek Discovery is going to end with this upcoming season 5. Now, they said the following: the Paramount Plus sci-fi drama will embark on its final voyage with its upcoming 5th season. Sources say principal filming of the season is mostly complete, but with this move to end the show, there will be additional filming to help craft a conclusion for the series. The 5th and final series season will premiere in early 2024. So they were well into the process making season 5 when the decision got handed down that, okay, this is going to be our farewell. So they decided to budget out more shooting time and whatever so they could actually wrap the series up. And then they bumped the release date of the series because season 5 was supposed to come out, I believe, later in 2023. And now they've bumped it to 2024 to give it that room and that breath so they can finish it off. And, whenever a show like this or a movie franchise starts to head towards its conclusion, you start wondering what's the legacy of this movie franchise or this series is going to be. What will the legacy of Star Trek Discovery be? I think what you can't deny, first and foremost, is that it will have a legacy of divisiveness. Like, again, I like the show overall, but there's no denying there are a lot of older, Star Trek fans and whatever, fans of the more classic stuff that it did not sit well with. It was very different from the Star Trek that they grew up with and liking. And it's fair to say that the number one thing about the legacy of Star Trek Discovery will be that it was divisive. It was. However, there's also a couple things that aren't deniable either. It'll have a legacy of sparking an entire era of new Star Trek on television. Because, we've got some animated series, we got Picard, we got Strange New Worlds, all that kind of stuff. And none of them would have existed were it not for the success of Star Trek Discovery. Here's another interesting thing about that. And this is going to rub some people the wrong way. At 5 seasons, Star Trek Discovery lasted 2 seasons more than the original Star Trek series did. Where's the gif of that cat from Puss in Boots that goes, ooh, yeah, I said it. It's true. It lasted 2 seasons longer than the original series did. Now, of course, this is a different era and altogether. But also in the streaming era where shows get canceled, good shows get canceled after 1, 2, 3 seasons, this thing's made it to 5. So, bullying, would they have liked to have gone longer? I'm sure they would have. Could this show have been a better show? I agree. Even as somebody who likes a show, I agree. It could have been a better show. Could have been great. It wasn't great. It was all right. It was good. Ups and downs. But it will have a legacy of being divisive and yet a legacy of success. And both are true. So hats off to the folks who brought us Star Trek Discovery. They've got a whole new franchise launch now. It's one of the other than, once this little thing called Yellowstone came around and Taylor Sheridan came around, but it was the most, other than that, it's the most successful thing Paramount Plus got going for it. So bully to them, good on them, and congratulations to the folks behind Star Trek Discovery for getting 5 seasons and the legacy that they will have. Questions for you guys. What do you think about this? Star Trek Discovery drawing to its conclusion at the end of season 5. What do you think its ultimate legacy is going to be? Whether you liked it or not, how do you think people will remember it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Rocket Money. The average person has around 12 paid subscriptions. Think about that. If you think you're only subscribed to a handful of services, you might want to double check. With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify and cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want and don't even use. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. My wife Ann and I moved out of Burbank 2 years ago, and one of the first things I discovered when I loaded up Rocket Money was that I was still paying for a gym membership I haven't even been to in Burbank in 2 years. So stop throwing away your money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea.